All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about something that makes a lot of English learners nervous, phrasal verbs. But what if I told you they're not just some random list of words you have to memorize? What if they're actually a puzzle with a secret code that, we can crack together?
And let's be real for a second. They are confusing. You learn a simple verb, you feel great about it, and then someone comes along, sticks a tiny word on the end of it, and boom, it means something completely different. It's a total headache for pretty much anyone trying to master the language.
I mean, think about it. You know the verb take. Easy enough, right? But then you hear take on. Okay, so that means to accept a responsibility. Fine, I can learn that.
But then there's take off. A plane takes off. Or you take off your coat. Wait, that's two totally new meanings. Okay, it's starting to get a little complicated now.
And what about take up? Like to take up a new hobby. That's another one. The list just feels like it's getting longer and longer.
And then you've got takeaway, like an idea you take away from a meeting. At this point, it just feels like this endless, impossible list to memorize. And that right there is the core of the problem.
And this is what we call the phrasal verb problem. It's that feeling like you're just drowning in a sea of phrases that all look kind of the same but mean different things. Well, today, we're going to change that.
So, here's our game plan. We've talked about the problem. Now, we're going to focus on cracking the code. We'll dig into the hidden power of those little words called particles, see how they create new meanings, and then I'm going to show you how to turn all this knowledge into your very own phrasal verb superpower.
So how do we actually find a system in all this chaos? Well, the secret is to stop trying to memorize every single individual phrase. We need to learn the system that's creating them in the first place.
And here it is, the big secret, pulled right from the experts at Cambridge. The magic isn't actually in the verb. It's in that little word that comes after it, the particle. If we can get a feeling for the force of words like up, off, and out, we can crack the whole code. And that, my friends, is a total game changer.
So just to make sure we're all on the same page, a phrasal verb is really simple. It's just a verb plus a particle. But the most important part to remember is that the particle isn't just there for decoration. It has a job. It's actively changing what the verb means.
Okay, this brings us to our first huge insight, the power of the particles themselves. I want you to stop thinking of them as extra words to memorize and start thinking of them like power-ups in a video game that give the base verb a new ability.
Look at the verb jazz. On its own, it's fine. But you add the particle up and you get jazz up. Suddenly, you're not just jazzing, you are actively making something more interesting, more attractive. That tiny word up adds this whole new concept of improvement.
In fact, up often carries a whole family of related meanings. It can mean to increase or improve, like in pep up or jazz up. It can mean to keep something literally upright, like when you prop up a sign. Or it can mean to strengthen, like to shore up a weak argument. Do you see the pattern? It's all about completion or improvement or support.
Now for our second principle. And honestly, this is where it gets really cool. A lot of phrasal verbs have two lives, a literal, physical meaning, and a metaphorical, abstract one. And guess what? The metaphorical one is almost always based on the literal one.
So let's start with something really clear and physical. To run over something with a car. That's a very direct, literal meaning, right? A vehicle physically moves over an object. Super easy to picture in your head.
But now, look at this. The meeting ran over. There's no car, no physical object. So what's going on here? Well, the language is taking that literal idea of crossing a physical boundary and it's applying it metaphorically to time. The meeting crossed its scheduled time limit. That's the leap.
And you see this pattern everywhere. Run over goes from a car hitting something to a meeting going too long. Or think about brush off. Literally, you brush dust off your jacket. Metaphorically, you brush off someone's idea, you dismiss it, just like it's a piece of lint. The physical action becomes a kind of blueprint for the abstract idea.
So, what does this all mean for you? It means you now have a tool. A superpower, really. You no longer have to see a brand new phrasal verb and panic. You can actually analyze it, decode it, and make a really good guess about what it means.
So here it is, your four-step method. The next time you see a new phrasal verb, first, just look at the particle. What does it usually hint at? Second, what's the verb's most basic physical meaning? Third, try to connect them. How could that physical action be a metaphor for an idea? And finally, number 4, check the context. Does your guess actually fit? This is how you go from just memorizing to truly understanding.
So when you really think about it, phrasal verbs aren't some kind of annoying mistake or a frustrating flaw in the language that we all just have to put up with. No, they're a core feature. They actually show us how creative language is, how we're constantly building new, abstract meanings on top of simple physical actions. It's like a little window into how our minds work. So the most important takeaway is this. Please, stop trying to memorize an endless list of phrases. It's exhausting and it doesn't really work. Instead, focus your energy on learning the system, the logic of the particles, and that leap from the literal to the metaphorical.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Are phrasal verbs just the random chaos they seem to be at first? Or are they a doorway into a hidden, logical, and really creative world of meaning? Because I promise you, once you see the system, you can't unsee it.